Hello, I'm Astrid of fringepopblog.com, and today I'm presenting one of a series of videos about vintage popular culture and other types of fringe materials. This particular presentation is about an artist who was prolific in painting vintage sleaze illustrations. His name was Bill Edwards, and he was a Californian, New Jersey born, who was both a rodeo star and a B-movie actor. He was a Western artist, but he also did an enormous amount of vintage sleaze paperbacks. We're talking probably hundreds in the late 60s, mid-60s, also early 70s for a publisher out of Fresno, California, known as Sanford a Day. His imprints included Vega, Sabre, and Fabian. Now, Edwards was known for having just really crisp, beautiful covers. He was one of the best, in my opinion. Here's an example of one of his works. This book is Sin Goddess by Frank G. Harris. The Sabre, as I said, part of Sanford a Day's line, dated 1967. This was a time in which Edwards was really in his prime, the late 60s, early 70s. That's a general example of his work. Notice the really prominent use of the eye. It's a nice little detail there. Another example of Edwards' work is this book, Take Me Stranger by William Wallace, also a Sabre book. The keyhole design was a popular element in the 60s, and even in the 40s and 50s as part of like a pin-up sort of theme. Another example of Edwards' work, Patterns of Lust by Theodore Reed, another Sabre book. Edwards characteristically frequently did little moles on women's faces. That was sort of one of his little trademarks. Another example, Schoolroom Stud. Sleaze paperback artists were instructed to paint particular settings, and certain place settings like schools or occupations were really common for them to include in their tawdry tales that they were telling. This is an example of a school theme. Here's an example, Topless by DJ Marshall, of a strip club theme. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this is an early 70s example of Edwards' work. Yes, this is from 1970. Edwards painted into the early 70s, probably ending in about maybe 1973, approximately. Another example of a theme. This is a Native American themed book, not too common in the vintage sleaze genre, Sins of the Pioneers by David Lynn. Another example of how sleaze can pretty much happen anywhere. We've got lust on a yacht here. Gotta love the expression on the guy's face. Very, very cheesy and a little sleazy. Then you would sometimes get into some BDSM themes, no matter what the publisher. They usually touched on them at some point or another. Here you've got a man whipping a woman in Project Girl by Mark Lucas. Very interesting representation. Now this one is one of the more rarer and more desirable titles, Which Lesbians Prefer Males. Very sadistic, strange, maybe forced conversion of lesbians into straight women sort of theme here. Not really sure what's happening, but definitely not your average sleaze book. But then you get a little role reversal here with this book, Parasites of Sex by Alan Horn. You've got a woman literally walking all over a man. She looks like she's having quite the time, but him not so much. Another example of a woman more in charge here with Naked Archer by Stella Gray. She's literally shooting arrows at this man. It says, because she now favored women for love, each arrow she shot at her male assistant seemed to be aimed closer to castrating him. Very interesting. And as a grand finale of showing off Bill Edwards' artwork, I'd like to present my favorite cover, Devil's Harvest by Robbie Smith. This is a very desirable book generally in the vintage sleaze genre. Devil covers are very sought after, and this particular one with a literal giant devil scooping up naked women is a classic and a real favorite. This has been a presentation from Astrid of fringepopblog.com on the art of Bill Edwards, a very prolific sleaze artist. I hope you enjoyed it.